I was chatting with a friend of mine. He's actually part of our community. You don't see him very often on Sundays. He lives out in the country, but tunes into our messages by podcast on the regular. Known him for a long time. Anyways, we got together last week. I was reminded of the number of times where over the years he talked about a golf tournament that he was heavily involved in organizing, charity golf tournament. He grew up in a small town in Alberta, and as he got older, he moved away. He lived down in Lethbridge for a time, and now he's on the outskirts of town here. But he would go back, and he was heavily involved in this charity golf tournament. It started with an NHLer who actually was from that small town, and so they invited him to come, and it was done in his honor, but they would raise money for different things. He always just had this passion, this heart to be able to give back to this small community, to look for ways that he could help, and especially alleviate needs and people that were suffering within this small town that he had grown up in. Just had this real heart for it. So anyways, over the years, he had mentioned this charity tournament. I didn't even think much about it. But this last week, I was talking to him, and he said, I finished, I'm no longer chairing that tournament. He said, last year was my last year. And I could tell there was a sadness. And I was thinking about this message that we were going to do today, and I went actually online and just searched up this tournament. And I had no idea the impact that this tournament had. He never really told me about it all. It started in the 90s. I read this whole newspaper article that was written about it. And over the years, it was an annual event that they would do every year, and they would find needs within the community. One year, a young man, he was a husband and a father, he got tragically killed. And this golf tournament raised a bunch of money to be able to help that surviving mom and their kids. Raised a pile of money to help. Another year, they threw on this golf tournament, and they sponsored a whole new playground to be built in this community. They didn't have, it was like an old, decrepit, so they went in, spent $175,000 and built this amazing playground for all the children of this community. So they did this, and over the years, 10 of these tournaments were spearheaded by this friend of mine. This last year, on his final year, they surpassed the $1 million mark in funds that they raised to benefit the lives of this community in small town Alberta and surrounding area, involving not just the community every year in this effort, but pulling in people who had been a part of that community from the past, pulling in alumni, people who had lived in the town in the past, thousands of volunteers over that time. They ended the tournament, and the mayor presented a key to this friend of mine, key to the town, saying, like, you've marked this community with your leadership and your love. I had no idea as I was reading through this article. I'm going, holy crap, this is so amazing. You know, one thing you hear us talking a lot about is taking water. And you got to know that there's a kind of water, good acts of kindness that make a difference, that are sometimes just spontaneous. You can see someone in need in a mall who's needing something, you can reach out and help. Someone on the side of the road, you can pull over. Those are the spontaneous, kind of random acts of kindness. But then there are these other kinds of water where it's like you get really intentional and you think deeply about some kind of thing that you, as an individual, could leave a mark on, and you give yourself to that thing. And the impact of that, based on who you are and what you're wired up to do, can be dramatic. Years ago, there was a guy, he's a pastor from California, his name is Rick Warren. He began talking a lot about really this thing about people's innate abilities and passions, abilities to be able to leave deep marks on their world, to leave a legacy, to change their world in such powerful ways. He developed this course. They called it SHAPE. It was an acronym. And it was designed to help people figure out their unique water based on who they are. And this SHAPE, from a 50,000 foot, I want to just skate through what really he taught. And in terms of what SHAPE stood for. S in SHAPE stood for spiritual gifts. He quotes from the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians, a passage in the Bible, where this leader in the church, very influential leader, was observing the ways that different people, even in a church community like this, seem to have these unique gifts. And when they operate, it blesses a community. It allows the community to flourish. And within the passage, he talks about some different gifts that he's observed. He says, well, there's people with a teaching gift, and they come out of the woodwork. And you have singers who, man, thank God, they can sing. They get up here and they do their thing, and it moves people. But not just that. You have people who have administrative abilities. For Friends Church, we have a board that step up and understand the policies that need to be set in place to keep order, to keep financial accountability. You have people with hospitality gifts, like Lori, you've likely met in the lobby, who just has a way of warming this place up. Coffee teams who say, we're going to put a coffee or a hot beverage in people's hands to help them relax. They can hide behind the coffee if they don't feel comfortable talking to anyone. They can sit there and sip, and maybe if you're comfortable enough to be able to just focus on their morning. You have people with giving gifts and wisdom gifts. Craftsmanship. I think about the tech teams back there who use their technical knowledge to be able to illuminate and put this thing on a live stream and podcast it around the world. Make us sound, amplify our voices. You have just these powerful gifts, spiritual gifts, Paul called them. Then he said H is for heart. This is the passion that people have. So this is kind of like a dialect of some languages that you have as your predominant language. Some people get involved in IT, but within IT, there's a world of different responsibilities. You get involved in business, yeah, there's a million things you can do in business. As you drill down and you nuance your role, you begin to recognize, actually, you know what? I love to design things. I like to develop things out of nothing. Enjoy starting things from scratch. Some people are like that. You have the pioneers that are willing to take risks and say, let's build something that could, and they have this vision for something. You have people who love not to create, but they can operate and optimize. These are the managers. They say, give me something that's already, I will make that thing run so efficiently. You have some people that are saying, I don't want to be in charge of anyone. Don't make me lead anyone, but man, I will help. I will serve. Just give me a job. Just tell me what to do. You have people who are good at shopping. And they say, tell me what you need. I will find you the highest quality product for the best price. Just turn me loose. I'm amazing on eBay and Amazon. Let me go. You have people who are influencers, who love to convert people to their way of thinking. They are naturally gifted to convince people, to sell people. People come in, I don't know. And after they're done, they're going, sign me up. I'm in. You have people who can perform. They don't mind the limelight. They don't mind being put in front of people and performing. They're just gifted to do that. You see, you have all these different passions. People who can improve things. People who can lead, who aren't scared to be in charge and say, we're going to do this. Follow. Come on. And people fall in line. You also have people who are the persevering ones. They're the ones that say, wait, we started something. Let's finish that. It's not done yet. They complete the task. They make sure it gets completed. All these different passions. People say, I love being on the tail end. No, I love being on the front end. I love convincing. No, I don't want to deal with people. I just want to get this little task done. These are the passions. Then you have abilities. And, there's a lot of people that are passionate about certain things, but they don't necessarily have the ability. So it's like where circles have to converge. I've had some people say, hey, sign me up for singing. And then we went, I can tell you have a passion, but maybe that passion is better suited for singing in the audience. That's all right. But there's some of you who, right from the get-go, have an innate ability. Who are the math people? You just never really struggled with math. Amazing. Yeah, don't be shy. It's just like, I don't know. It just makes sense to me. Everyone else is going, you jerk. And it's like, no, I don't know. I didn't have to think about it. Some of you have innate abilities that were wired into you, and you didn't go looking for them. You didn't even have to work hard to develop them. They're just there. I remember the day I walked into the blood clinic and they told me I had AB negative blood. I didn't do anything to have that. But they said, you are like 0.5% of the population, 0.5%. And you are a universal plasma donor. Something dawned on me in that moment. I've got something that most people can't generate. You can't make that. What I'm saying is it tipped me off to perhaps something that would become my unique mark, my unique water. Abilities. Then you have personality. If you've done any personality profiles, you'll realize that each of us are so uniquely wired. You got introverts and you got extroverts. You got high feelers. You got high thinkers. You have people who are big idea people, who see it, the grand scheme of things, and are very logical and concrete in the way that they analyze the world. And then you have these deep intuitives, people who are drawn to mystery, live in the creative. Oh man, all these unique ways that you individually have been wired up. You've got a fingerprint that is none like anyone else. And Rick Warren would say, man, if you can start figuring out your unique shape, E is for experiences. Some of you have already traveled a wild, wild road that has taken you down some amazing paths that have led you to some unbelievable mountaintops and some dark, dark valleys. There's people within our community who have faced addiction head on. You have almost lost your lives, but you came through it. And now that experience, those scars and wounds that you bear from that dark chapter have now allowed some of these people to turn around and help other people. It's given them a mission and a vision to be able to take water to those who too are now facing addiction in the face and saying, and that thing's got them by the throat, and they're saying, we are here, we're gonna help. Your experiences have a way. Your past has a way of kind of pointing to different things that your water might look like. Rick Warren says, when you start adding up all these different components, you will figure out that you have a unique way to give back to this world. And a large part of the spiritual journey is figuring that thing out. What is your shape? What are you doing? You got a limited time on this planet. And it's fleeting. You got moments, but you have an opportunity to use your shape to change the world in some way, to change lives in some way. This morning is really just been set aside to show you how this can look if you wake up to your shape. What can happen? As I think about the experiences that can mark a person, that can set them on a course for taking water, I thought about another friend of mine who is also part of our Friends Church community. He and his wife Andrea and their family have been a part of Friends a long time. It goes way, way, way back. Anyways, his life story and what he's been up to over this last while I thought would be perfect for this morning. So I want you to put your hands together. I want to reintroduce you to Mike Hansen, who's joined me in the past. Mike, come. Thank you. Thank you for being willing to come and share your story.
Well, thanks for having us here.
Yeah, it's great.
Appreciate that.
It's great to have you both here. Mike, you didn't necessarily go looking for a water cause. Perhaps maybe it kind of, by providence, by God's guidance, just kind of landed on your doorstep. Maybe could we have limited time, and I want to jump into your story. When did you, what led to you taking water?
So I guess personally, for us, we have 4 kids. We've been married for 17 years now, and I guess we've actually been going to Friends Church for 20.
Come on, before you were even married?
It was before we were married. So Friends Church has actually shaped a lot of our desire to give water. But 13 years ago, Andrew and I got some news on our twin boys, our oldest 2, that probably no parent is really ready to hear, and it's your children have autism. They have a disability, and so we had some time to adjust to that. But we have an amazing family, and it's just like how they came to support us was just unbelievable. And my grandma, I remember speaking with her shortly afterwards too, that basically saying, when we were kind of probably in our darkest time with it, like, who's better to take care of these boys than you guys are? And this almost can become a gift for you guys about how, your lives can change and get and improve for other people. So hearing that from her really changed our trajectory. And over 13 years of going through this, we've always been fortunate. We could get the boys, the services they needed. We have, through education or financial capacity we have, or our family, they were always able to get what they needed. But what we saw as we went through this is there were so many other kids that we could see getting left behind. And so,
with similar challenges.
Yeah, just the same situation, but they just didn't have the family support, the financial capability, Andrea's
it's huge,
ability.
Hey? The amount of resources it takes to be able to help a child with some different challenges, learning challenges, to be able to really have a fighting chance.
There's so many aspects of it that come into play, and we were lucky. We had most of those. But so as we saw the other kids and the families that didn't, it just became more of a passion and like I'd say even an obligation. Like we have more to give. We have capacity to give and help. And so that's just kind of how we changed. And then, coming here, we got the reminder. We got, you guys speaking all the time back when, Kelly, Vince, you, over the years. It's just helped shape us to what we're here to do.
So you started waking up to this need for kids who were maybe autistic, had learning challenges, and parents who didn't have the resources to be able to help them. So that became aware to you. What did you do when you started seeing that need? What did you think? What can we do about this?
Well, our boys went to a preschool called BTLC, Behavior Therapy and Learning Center. And, we spoke with the director a lot, and it's, there's funding that they get, but there's a big portion of what they, to provide the level that our kids were getting that made a huge, huge difference on them. They needed fundraising, and it was a big part of it. So it was 2013 that, we decided to make a bigger donation than we had before. And before I was kind of like, somebody comes up, like you almost mentioned, it's like, I'm fundraising, I need $100 or whatever. And we'd do that, but we never really had a plan or anything like that. Never really had a desire to find something and make an impact. So we gave something that was for us a big amount of money. We had donated $4,000, and the reaction we got, and we knew how much it was helping. It was huge. So that was kind of the first thing that we did, that we started to realize, one, how we can make an impact to this place and kids with autism, and also it felt really, really good too.
Yeah, like it was a real strategic decision you made, where you just said, look, we're going to help this school in the way, our capacity.
Yeah, for sure. And then I actually joined the board of the BTLC as well, and that's when I really started to learn about how things were going on. And one thing that, again, I've actually hadn't mentioned this when we chatted before, kind of as I was thinking about this morning. They were in a lease that they at any point they could get 6 months notice and they were out. And this is kids with autism in preschool that need structure. So that
Stable
really
environment.
bothered me. And so when I was on the board, it was like we have to find a solution to this. So I helped out, and we looked at a bunch of places, and we found a place that was great. But the problem was even over their 5-year plan and the financial analysis that they did, they were short significant money in order to move there. And so that's when Andrea and I spoke about that it's like, we can't allow this to not happen. They need to go. And we had a good year at work, and so we just said, we're covering that difference. Here's your 5 years of and that really, like, that was very strategic of us. That I think that made a big difference. And I don't think if many things that we've done have had a bigger impact as far as on us, on knowing that we've given them stability for 5 years.
Like, at this point, this has become a pretty all-consuming kind of passion water project. Did you know at the time that maybe you had certain skills or talents for that thing? Were you kind of going, hey, I think I can really help them with all my skill sets? Or was it just, oh, there's a need, and I think this is probably a logical next step? Or what was the thinking there?
I mean, I never really thought about it that way, and it's actually,
I know,
it would have been really helpful about that.
Yeah.
It would have been. But I mean, I guess I was aware of certain skills that I have. Like, being on the board, I did see gaps that the board had that I had that I was able to fill just from my, I do engineering as my, and leadership roles, and I'm structured. I have strategy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think more than anything with that, like, you also have to have something that you have a purpose for, that you can deeply,
Kind of pull on.
Yeah, like the why of why you want to get involved. And we had that. So, everything that we've done, I mean, for the most part on the charitable side, has been linked to autism or just any kids that just need a hand up. And I mean, it's just, as you see, like, if you can help a kid in those early years, the impact it can have on their life as they get older, where if they don't, they can go on a completely different trajectory. Like, you can really change them, and then hopefully they become water carriers later on in life too. But it's, just knowing with children, and that's just for us, where it's always been like...
Yeah, it's been the motivator behind it all.
Yes.
So you start giving more and more both time and money into the BTLC, sorry.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. At one point, you thought, hey, I'm going to do a fundraiser of some sort. Can you describe that?
Yeah, and we had done a few small ones, but I got into running in 2014. And so I was working my way up, thought I'd run a marathon, and a lot of people that run marathons raise money, and I thought, well, if I'm going to put my body through this, I might as well raise money along the way.
Yeah.
And I, again, we wanted to support BTLC, so we decided to that we would put in matching donations to try to raise $50,000. That was the initial goal that we would do, and so I learned a lot on that. I probably didn't have the experience at that point in time, but it gained me a lot. I'd done a little bit of fundraising, but
so like normally for people that will like jump into some of these big causes, everything gets organized for them, so they just basically sign up. They'll go to the race or whatever. This was a little different. You were just saying, look, I'm going to do a marathon. We're going to organize this, and I'm going to match funds, and we're going to kind of do up our form. So you just kind of did up one kind of as a freestander to help support the school.
I mean, I ran it in the Calgary Marathon.
Okay, part of the Calgary Marathon.
But we didn't use their fundraising platform because there was, by going through Birdies for Kids, we could actually optimize and get matching there. And so I worked with BTLC. We had somebody that did a bit of marketing. We did some posters, started sending it around.
Where did you find those people?
It was through Aaron at BTLC. I got that. But I discussed with my company.
Yeah.
We had people help out there. Somebody did a poker tournament at work that brought in some money, and then it's a lot of just kind of pounding the pavement on emails and phone calls and
You mentioned
coffees
this
and stuff like
Birdies for
that.
Kids?
Yeah.
So another charity tournament that happens in town raises a huge pile of money, and they give to different things,
Yes.
different causes, kids' causes in the city. So you tied into that to get them to match funds that you were
Yes.
matching. You were matching funds. So there was this compounding fact. So that year, what did you?
Yeah, we raised $61,000.
$61,000.
for that, which was, we were pretty happy with that.
The school must have just been like.
It was huge for them. Like
Yeah.
it's 61,000 was like their goal in an annual year would maybe be 100-ish, and
Wow.
we got them almost there with that one event. So it helped them a lot for their stability.
What was happening inside you and Andrea as you begin to see yourselves even moving the dial for this school and the thoughts of what it could, it could be equipped like? Can you describe that?
It just gets more and more rewarding. Like you start to realize, and you see the kids you see the actual kids that are going there and knowing how important it is, and families that can't really afford it.
Yeah.
It's the most gratifying thing that I could do. And I reflect back to that conversation I had with my grandma on how, something like this can change us for the better too. Mm-hmm. And I think often with my boys that for them, they've had their challenges and they've done very, very well. And, but I wish they wouldn't have had to go through these challenges. But for us, I don't think I'd like the person I was if this hadn't happened to us. I'm confident I'm a better person, and I'm way more fulfilled from doing these things. Like it's just, it fills your tank all the time. You give something, whether you're volunteering at, even going to the food bank, and I was telling you about filling the boxes and stuff like that. You walk out of that and you feel like you're on a high for the day.
The helper's high, you bet.
Absolutely, yeah. So all that stuff, it's just so rewarding.
Yeah.
And obviously it's helpful for the kids, but it's win-win. It's not just they win. I win as much, if not more, than a lot of them.
Sure. Now, as is typical, you go through even an event like that where you run the marathon, you raise this amount of money. Now, all of a sudden, the experience is happened, and you kind of like sit back and, wow, that was amazing. It doesn't stop there. Like
it almost did. When I finished it, I said to Andrea, I'm never doing that again. That's the dumbest thing anybody could ever do.
Why? Why did you?
Because it
feel
hurt
that
so
way?
bad.
Okay.
I was terrible. I bombed the race actually too, and so
So you were like really new into running at that point.
I'd never
like
ran a marathon,
okay.
and it's honestly, I set a time target that I told everybody about, which I regretted, and then I totally bombed it. And I came home and I maybe cried a little bit and said, I'm never doing this again. This was the dumbest thing. Who runs marathons? And 2 days later, I was already looking at the next marathon.
Wow.
And because I didn't like my time, and I'm like, I want to see about going to Edmonton and running a marathon there. So that changed quickly. But I mean, it probably took a few years really to start to come up with another concept. But the idea of giving and fundraising, that just became part of our like the giving part just became part of our life. Like we got to, we just budget every year, and this is how much we give every year, and it actually makes it way easier. And I know you did a message on that once too. I just actually skimmed through it this morning, but it just and it's again. I mean, when people come to us or we go out searching to find areas that we can help in, and we just know we have a certain amount every year, and we try to find areas that we can make the biggest impact. So that was kind of the next step, and then. And I've learned a lot from this last event that it's now, what can we do to actually fundraise too? The money we have can only go so far. So how can I get other people's money to start to make an even, like a significantly bigger impact?
Like, did you ever kind of step back and just start recognizing that with all the different things that you have done and been trained for, even within your job, that you kind of have a bit of a superpower to be able to kind of take these things like this and kind of exponentially ramp them up even more? Like, did that ever cross your mind? We're going, man, this is...
I don't know if it was like a very conscious thing, like until you and I started talking and going through this, and I started to see that it definitely, there is skills that I have.
What skills specifically do you think lend to the kinds of things that you're doing?
So like I'm structured and organized. So, and I do project management type stuff. It's part of my work. I've been leaders.
What do you do? Just for
I
people
work
that
for
don't wanna-
Cenovus Energy, oil and gas company, and I've been working in oil and gas forever, for 20 some years. And now I've been in management roles for the past, since 2011. So I lead large groups of people, but I still manage projects. We have to get things across the line. So as far as organizing an event and executing it, I'm doing similar things like that all the time, and I'm leading people and doing it all the time as well. And from the fitness running standpoint, I run more than most people do, and I have an ability to tolerate it and
So like
pound
from
the
that
pavement and
early
stuff
day
like
when
that.
you did a marathon for the first time,
Yeah.
like Mike runs a lot now. Even recently he would run about the equivalent of a half marathon every day. So this thing has ramped up. This became a love of yours.
Yes. I
Hey,
guess, yes.
well, I don't know why else you.
I don't know why else
You-
I do it either, but I maybe told you this. I saw a great shirt that said, "I like running when it's done," and that's sometimes how I feel a lot. But I do.
Yeah.
I just keep doing it.
Yeah, you get up early every morning and you
Yes.
run. So, combined with your running and your project management.
Yeah.
Also, too, maybe your networking and the way that you've gotten to know a lot of key people who have resources.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of it. And that's, again, even when the last event here that we did, that's where, from a fitness standpoint, I can still do these things. I'm getting a little older, but my network is getting bigger and better. And the number of people I would know that are multimillionaires is a lot higher now than when I did my first event. So it's like, and that's a huge part of it. To do this is, and even when I was on the board of BTLC, I remember that being like, we want influential people. We want to find people that have networks of capacity, stuff like that. It's enormous. And then, another part that I think I'm getting better at, and I work at it, and Andrea's better at this than I am, but it's that, it's almost like how I can find a way to connect with people, and through that connection and have them learn more about us, the influencing and getting them to let go of their financial resources and try to realize that the benefit is. So the more I can do that and inspire people to give, that's another huge part that I'm probably not as naturally gifted at, but it's something that I've worked really hard at that part, because that can be more important than any of this. If you can't convince somebody to give your money, or fundraising initiatives are not very good.
Well, diminished for sure.
Yeah.
So this has all started leading. You got that one marathon done.
Yeah.
It took a while, you said, before all of a sudden the wheels started turning for the next project. I remember actually a number of years ago sitting over coffee with you, and you threw out the idea, and my jaw hit the floor. I was like, are you crazy? But maybe just give us, in a nutshell, what your idea was for this next big.
So it was running 10 marathons in 10 consecutive days across all 10 provinces. And so initially we had thought about trying to raise, and I had a friend of mine do this with me. I'd called him as soon as it came into my mind, and he was like, I'm in 100%. And so we had talked about trying to raise $500,000, but as we walked through and tried to, strategize through this, which we did a lot of that, and we got a marketing company, ZGM, that came on pro bono for everything. We amped it up and we shot for $1 million.
You said, I remember right early on, you said, we're going to go after $1 million. And I was like, okay.
I thought
all right,
that too.
Man. Yeah. And so you step out now using all your abilities and your passion, now your body of experience, now your networking starting to come into play. When did this all end up going down?
Well, we started, the middle of 2023 is when we started organizing. Like Dave and I just said, okay, we're going to do this. We'll start to get it going. But it was kind of started 2024, started training, but then I started talking to people. And that was a tough one actually for me, because I had a fear of failure on this. And as soon as you tell somebody you're going to do it, I'm going to get judged if I don't get it done. But I also, it was through baseball with Rosie that I started telling people, and again, I was kind of nervous, but that's where I met the wife of the marketing guy. And so by doing it, I also started seeing the more I talk about it, the more people I get on side to help us do this. So that's where we really started getting traction and getting support along the way. And then it kind of came around till it was May 16th to May 25th this year that we finally did it after years of planning, and it's on my mind like every day, all day for a long time. And
I remember looking at all the different, like, you had laid it out on paper, all that was going to have to happen for this to pull off, the logistical
there
nightmare.
was like the training and medical, there was the logistics, there's the fundraising, there's the marketing, there was the media stuff that we did, which our marketing company helped us on. And I mean, that's something that I definitely had to get way out of my comfort zone, is being on TV, radio, podcasts, doing magazines, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I kept telling myself that I will do this. Even social media, like doing selfies is like the worst thing ever. But I would do selfies and put them up online, which but I was like, if it can raise money, I'll do whatever it takes to raise money. So
you pulled it off.
Yeah,
you got 10 marathons done in 10 days across 10 provinces.
Yes.
And isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Share with them what you ended up raising in the end.
Raised $1,038,000.
$1 million. Isn't that something?
Yes.
So impressive, Mike. I can't even imagine the joy that after it was all said and done, being able to cut those checks.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about the organizations that you guys got involved in.
So Autism Asperger's Friendship Society, which is an organization my son uses to this day. They're all about providing extracurricular activities and recreation for kids with autism. They found that there was always places for school and therapy, but the doctors would be like, get them out and get them doing extracurricular stuff, but there was nowhere for them to go. So it was founded 20 years ago, and so it's had a huge impact on our lives. Kids sport was the second one. Again, I wouldn't be even close to where I am in life without sport. And the idea of a financial barrier preventing some kids from getting entry into sports is just something that both Dave and I had a real passion to help out on. And then Big Brothers Big Sisters, which, I've had a great family that's supported me. There's so many kids out there that just don't have that. And that one mentor can be fundamentally change everything about their trajectory. And so I've got to know them a lot more. I didn't have a connection with them, but Dave had been a mentor for a decade. And so that was one. But they're such a good group of people. And again, it's a real, the way that they get the right person together so they can actually maximize the effort. You just put two people together, it might not do it, but so, they had a huge waiting list, and they felt that this, we got them just over $300,000. This could make a huge difference in that wait list. So, it's impacting a lot of kids with that.
So, tell me what it does even for you two. Like, after coming through that, obviously, that cost you guys a lot in so many different ways. You come out of that. Was there ever any regrets or anything?
Yeah, there's definitely no regrets on it. I mean, especially that we pulled it off. But I'd mentioned this to you, and Andrew and I talked this a lot. Like, I had a lot of guilt at times when I was going through this. I'd have to go to bed at like 8 p.m., 8:15. I was getting up at 3 every morning so I could run for 2.5 hours, and I felt like I was neglecting my family along the way. But I was hoping that my kids would see what I was doing and the impact that one person could have, and that it helps turn them into water carriers as they get older as well. So that's how I justified it to myself throughout this. I was getting reward in doing this. I had a huge amount of stress that I was under of failing. But I mean, this is gonna, for the rest of my life, will impact me. I'll be able to look back on this with a huge amount of pride of what we accomplished and the challenge that it was. This was really hard. It was, the running was really, really hard. The fundraising was arguably harder at times, but it just persistence. That's what I learned. Like, and that was at times the part that Dave and I would both put off till the end, but it's like, we look at where we're at and we're like, okay, I got to start making phone calls and emails. And on the flight from Vancouver to Calgary, like, because we ended in Calgary, we did number 9 in Vancouver, 10 in Calgary. I looked where we're at and I'm like, we have to do more. And I got on there and I sent a bunch of messages and, raised $40,000 in that flight across there. So it was just, but it was people that I knew were interested, and you just had to give them a bit of the reason why. So, yeah.
I thank you. I debated wanting to tell this story for fear that there would be people here sitting or listening to this online who would say, well, I could never do what Mike's done. I am not in that I don't have that kind of capacity. That's not me, whatever. This is not about scope. This isn't about, this is about taking what you have, acknowledging what you have to whatever degree that is, and saying, okay, well, what could I do? And being strategic enough to be, and then being willing to just step out and do something. We're out of time this morning, but I would ask you to think deeply about your shape, what you know about yourself. Because this spiritual journey that you're on is not just about how it's going to make your life better. That's not the business Friends Church in. We're not trying to just make your life better. We want to enhance your life so that you can turn around and be water carriers, that you can light up your world and leave a mark that will make life better for others. So this morning, maybe you walk out of here and you go, let me think about my heart for a second. Where do my passions lie? What are my experiences? Is there a cause? Is there something right under my nose that I could give myself to? I'm telling you, I've spent enough time talking with Mike and how this trajectory that he's been on has lit him up. I can't get him to stop talking about these opportunities that he is reaching out and doing. And I know that there are others in this room who this year might be the first time you go, I'm putting myself out there. And I'm going to find my personal water, my proactive water. I'm going to give myself to something. I don't care what the impact is, but I'm telling you, it will be the start of a whole new life. A whole new life. Your life opens up in a whole nother way. You want to talk spiritual journey that's life-changing? You step into this area of water carrying. So my prayer for you is that you would think deeply about your shape this week. We're going to revisit this in a few weeks in a new series that we're starting. But may you take some of these details from Mike's story. Mike, thank you for sharing this story. May you find some inspiration and say, shit, I can do something. You can do something. You got what it takes. Let's show Mike some appreciation. Thank you, pal.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. Hey, have a great week, everyone. We will see you back here next week. Enjoy Labor Day long weekend. Get out there. Enjoy a little outdoors and take some water.